Hello and welcome to another episode of Anime Countdown this time. I'm your host LB and joining me as always is CT.
This time, I am still CT.
So we're back on Anime Countdown. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, so just to refresh everyone's memory, remember this is the show where we take as obscure of topics as we can think of or find or get suggested, and rank our top five favorites. Not necessarily in order, but we list our top fives at least. You might remember at some point last year, I don't remember what month it was, but we did our favorite opening theme song artists of all time with the caveat that we could only choose artists that had performed at least three theme songs, which ended up eliminating quite a few good choices, which is unfortunate. We do have, in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our favorite ending theme song artist with the same rules in place. They had to have performed at least three ending themes. Plus, in my case, the Yuki Kaijura rule is in effect, so I can't name any bands that she has ever been associated with, which again eliminates a lot of good songs. CT, are you following your no Yoko Kano rule this time, or?
Well, yes, same rules as before. I still eliminated Megumi Hayashibara and Yoko Kano stuff for what is it, easy mode. In this case, I was planning on just broad scale eliminating anyone who I picked for an OP artist, but after reviewing them and the EDs, I'm like, I don't think I would have picked them for EDs. So it's surprising where you go and how it's oftentimes just concentrated around one or two key songs and then their whole body of work. And of course, if it leans one way or the other, you can have someone who you love all the time and you would listen to their music a lot, but you still wouldn't pick them for the ED. Even Shrew could not make it for me by the qualification. Some of them wouldn't have qualified, but so that just happened by happenstance. I wasn't planning on picking any of mine or any of yours from last time, but it didn't really matter.
Alright, sounds good. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna jump right into things. I don't have any honorable mentions this time. Everyone who's on my list made it there without any real fuss or muss from me. I think you have a couple though, so did you
Good
want to name
lord, I
off
have a lot to
yours?
say here, so I guess we'll just go right in. I was going to suggest you go first, but you went first. So I have a couple complaints. If anyone listened to our OP list, uh, I was tearing out my hair because of certain people who I just love as far as vocalists and love the OPs and EDs that they do, but for no good reason they were literally on like two OPs and two EDs that are among my favorites that I have listed on my chronological favorites list. One of those is Miho Morikawa, who did, in this case, she did the opening theme to Nadia and she did the ending theme, which I love. And there are a few things that I rank like OPs. I can't really rank as in this is my favorite of all time, but she has my number two favorite ED in Ranma 1 half CD8 positive. But again, can't use her. Similar to that, there's Meiko Nakahara, who is very much associated with a lot of the stuff that I love from way back in the day. She did the opening and ending to the Dirty Pair TV series. She did openings and endings to Orange Road, but not enough to work with She did a number of other songs, but they weren't openings or endings. They were, interstitial songs. And I'm like, damn it, this rule. Uh, and I'll throw another name out, Kanako Wada, who was also, along with Meiko Nakahara, a very much an Orange Road song vocalist. So doesn't really qualify for that. You had another rule, or not another rule, you had a clarification you wanted to make, as in, can does the number matter alone, or does it also have to fall into multiple TV series? And we clarified that only the number really matters. And amusingly, that opened up something when I get to my main list. But one person who specifically came to mind is Matsuko Matawari, who I'm giving a shout out for. Literally, she did Yu Yu Hakusho endings, like a bunch of them. They're all pretty good, pretty much bangers. Um, there are others, of course, who could qualify but don't quite get to the goodly number of stuff. Like Unison Square Garden did the Kekai Sensen ED that everyone loves, Sugar Song to Bitter Step, and I think they qualify on other EDs, but I couldn't give it just for that. Chihiro Yonakura is kind of a 90s sound vocalist. She's done a whole bunch of stuff, my favorite being the ending for Gundam 8 MS Team, which I love an awful lot, but she got eliminated from my list just for excuse me, just for getting normal displaced. Same thing with Asami Seto, who could qualify for the Chihaya Furu endings, and she had a Bunny Girl Senpai ending, and I enjoy her as a voice actress, but not not enough to make it. But the thing that made I thought the ED list was going to be easy, but the thing that made this really a lot harder than I thought it was going to be is EDs seem to be where you get a whole lot of the cast songs. And those are basically never going to qualify for the three use. So what I mean by that is what is it? The one that really comes to mind is the Spice and Wolf first ending, which is just
Hmm.
cute and utterly weird. And I love the ending to Dragon Half, which is a weird little song about what is it? Eggs, largely. Uh, Maharamatics Mambo ED I love, but again a cast one. The Hare Hare Yukai Haruhi Suzumiya's ending, which is drove dance routines at conventions for a decade. The Excel Saga ending, where Menchi is just crooning into a microphone, and then one of the girls is just chanting a lyric about him wanting to be eaten. There's so many things that I love because they really fit the show. They're a great way to go out with, but they could never fit. They could never fit the rule. The Most of my favorite EDs from 2017, like Maiden Abyss and Princess Principal and Alice and Zorogu. Later on, things like Hisune and Masaton. So many of them are just simply, oh man, I love them. I'd love to be able to give them props, but I can't hear the Witchcraft Work CD we talked about during our cast. I have way more EDs that couldn't qualify for the rule that end up on my favorites list because it feels like it has a lot more leeway to delve into the just utterly weird, uh, like Kaguya Sama's ED with Chika singing the stuff and doing her little dance stuff. I just love so many of these things. and but they can't be ED artists, so I can only give them props by shouting out a bunch of them. But what it did was it made my list a lot harder because so many of them that come to mind don't qualify in a way that OPs didn't have that same problem. So it was a little weird. But hey, I get to give them their own many little shout outs here, and then we can go on to the main event. Do you have any one offs in particular that I know you didn't have honorable mentions, but thinking of that kind of thing, do you have particular cast songs or ones that could never qualify that are like, oh yeah, I really enjoy this kind of?
If I had to choose, like, just banging cast songs that I really enjoyed that ended, the first one that comes to mind is the ED for the first season of Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukanai, or Haganai. That
Mm-hmm.
one was a major banger. I don't remember the voice artists who performed it, but it was just a really banging song, and I really enjoyed it. So that one is a definite. Maharomatics Mambo song. I can't believe you even mentioned that. That it's cute, but it definitely wouldn't go down as one of my favorites.
Well,
Um,
right. It doesn't necessarily top every list, but it's just the kind of thing that it's like I want to do in some fashion. The
uh,
Kill Me Baby ED. What the crap with that thing? I love it. But again,
But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, I can't really think of any off the top of my head. I know that there are others that I really enjoyed. The most of the EDs to this obscure little series called Kyoran Kazuko Nikki were pretty banging, and those were cast member songs, so I know that they couldn't qualify. There were a couple of them that were bizarre, but most of them were, nice little songs. So, are we ready to move on to our main lists?
yeah, let's go.
All right, I'll go ahead and I'll start us off because you just rattled off for about 10 minutes on your honorable
What are you
mentions.
talking about?
So my first artist, she really burst onto the scene with her ending theme song from the series Bleach, but event after that, she skyrocketed and got attached to quite a couple of other ones, including Darker Than Black, Wandering Sun, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny, excuse me, and that would be Rifu. Rifu is easily one of my favorite Japanese artists, period. Not just because of her ending themes, but just I have pretty much all of her albums, and she is just such a talented songwriter and composer. She has a great voice. It's very soft. It's not like overwhelmingly powerful, which is, fine. You don't always need that. But one thing I also really like about her is that she's bilingual. So a lot of her singles, she'll start in English or Japanese and then switch back and forth throughout the song just to screw with people. So yeah, so Rifu, like I said, you may know her from her series Life, from her song "Life Is Like a Boat" from Bleach. Suki Akari from Darker Than Black was a really good song. "I Want to Go to a Place" from Seed Destiny was really good. I mean, she's just one of those artists that even if I discovered her through anime, but I followed her well past what she's done for anime, and I still enjoy listening to her songs all the time. I've mentioned before that I have a playlist set up of just random songs, and a good chunk of that playlist is Rifu singles, or just songs from her album that I will just listen to endlessly on repeat.
That is interesting. I know I've run across the name, but she's actually someone that I haven't has not really come to mind or gotten in front of me enough. Now I'm curious. I'll have to seek out a few things. If only streaming services just had everyone's damn albums in there. Like Megumi Hayashibara's just went. All of them went on every damn service. I'm like, yes, do that to everyone. All of them. Stop hiding things. We just want them. I don't care if you translate their lyrics. Just give me the music. So,
Yeah, totally.
uh,
Like I said, she was attached to Bleach, she was attached to Darker Than Black and See Destiny. I really think that those three songs are strong enough that you should seek them out and just kind of get an idea of what she's like. She's basically a Japanese singer-songwriter type. So she plays guitar and piano, and she's just really talented. I think you'd really like her.
sounds good. I shall give that a shot. If we're moving along then to my first pick, I'm going to give this one as a qualifier for a few things. For one, they came to mind because you had specifically mentioned the multiple EDs for one show. Uh, they stuck in my mind due to a conversation I was having on a an Orange Road Discord. Uh, and more specifically because I can't pick the ones who are of that particular era, and I wanted to satisfy my male vocalist criteria last time, like I did with Lark, who couldn't qualify for an ED one, certainly not on quality. Uh, they they did 4 EDs for the series Mice in a Coke. Uh, the ED2 is probably the one that anyone might know them from. They're a band called Picasso. And so they were largely a mid 80s to mid 90s band. I think they retired for a bit, reformed for a bit. They really only have those endings. Although my favorite contribution that they have had to anime is from a movie, which I normally don't count, but since this is just enhancing what I already picked them for, they did the ending credits music for Ranma One Half's movie Nihao My Concubine, called A Piece of Love, and it's great. And it's one of those things that folks of that era all knew somehow the Ranma movie, even more than the TV show, seemed to be in the cultural zeitgeist. Both things from the beginning and things from the ending. It has cute credit scenes, uh, and it has a great little beginning that I always have to close my eyes to and lip sync when he says the rhythm, and then go into the first piece of love. I don't know. It's buried in my soul. I enjoy their vocals quite a lot. They're certainly a very easy listening group, and the Mice and Koku EDs are all kind of classics in their own right, and nice little ballady, very fitting for the show. So I give them a multi shout out, and in this case, an old timey vibe that I'm finding as I built out the rest of my list that I'm swinging way more modern for a lot of the rest of them. So I felt an obligation to pull someone from the '80s as well.
Because you're an old timer like that.
I have an old soul.
Okay, so for my next choice, this is the artist that I was specifically asking for the clarification on and was asking the reason, and she is the reason why I needed to know, hey, can I include her even though, okay, so she's performed plenty of theme songs with various people. I'm not gonna look up, everyone that she's done, but the reason why she's on this list is because she performed all three of the ending theme songs from K-On! Along
Okay.
along with the rest of HTT, and that'd be Yoko Hikasa.
Okay.
So Yoko Hikasa, if you've watched K-On!, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. She performed "Don't Say Lazy." She performed "Listen." She performed "No Thank You." Uh, the reason why she's getting on this list for the EDs and the reason why the OPs weren't mentioned on the corresponding list is because I personally find Yoko Hikasa to have a much better singing voice. I actually can't stand the singing voice of Aki Toyosaki. It's just way too high for me. I don't
Hmm.
care for it all that much. I can listen to the songs and I can listen to her singing, but I much prefer the deeper voice of Yoko Hikasa on the end theme songs. I also think that in general they're just stronger songs in overall. I think that the entire band and the series itself would have been better if Yoko Hikasa had taken the lead vocalist part. Yui as lead vocalist was funny for most of the series, but still, I think Mio and Yoko Hikasa would have been a better choice overall. But maybe that's
Well,
just me.
to be fair, Mio should have been lead everything. So
Yeah,
that's
that's fair.
that's just the way it works.
So yeah, so this is the one that the reason why I asked for clarification is just because her vocals were so strong on these songs. I really enjoyed them. I still have them on my iPod. Yes, CT, I still have my iPod. So yeah, so these were definitely the strong choices that when I was looking up ending theme songs in my music collection and seeing what I had listened to the most, these popped up pretty quickly.
Gotcha. But you certainly didn't need to. You didn't need that qualifier. It seems like she's done. If I'm reading right, she's done a ton of other EDs, Infinite Stratos, an Attack on Titan one. Uh, what is it? Random things like Quasar of Stigmata, Miru Tights.
Yeah, I know, but that was
Not,
that
those
was a
are probably
series.
not ones that you want, but right, you didn't need it to qualify. It's just these are the only reasons why I'm picking this person,
Pretty
and I,
much,
I
yeah.
can understand that.
So, all right. What is your number four or number two,
Okay.
whichever one you want to count it as?
The second one I'm going to name, uh, they're the most recent band because they seem to have come together in 2016 and pretty much explicitly just for doing anime EDs. And I was familiar with them from some ones. I didn't watch Grimgar, but they did the EDs for those, and those are good. I think they did the only good things about Fairy Gone, which were the EDs. The Sakura Quest EDs were great, and they did those. But the reason I'm adding them here is because literally 1 year ago, they basically blew my hippie noodle by doing all of the what is it the six variant EDs for Dorohedoro. I don't know if you watched that anime,
I
but
know I
all of
didn't.
these all of these EDs are just top tier great. Most of their other ones sound like very, well done but fairly normal EDs as well. And these ones took, very much a spin into a much different kind of music style. Uh, uh, the visuals and other stuff. It fits the utter bonkers strangeness of the work, and I certainly hope that we get more. But the fact that they did so many of these in a row and they were all just great means that's one of the things that I'm just going to start looking for anything they're involved in the music of, whether it's doing, because I think they do music for shows as well as the OPs and EDs. They're a fairly, I don't want to say a eclectic group, but when you look at what they're comprised of, it's a lot of people with, strange stage names and other stuff. So I'm not entirely sure what to make of them because they tend to also work with other folks, bringing them in to join for particular projects or not. But I'm bringing them no name, very stylized. The K is in parentheses, mostly in caps, except the O is lowercase, and there's an underscore between it. So now you know how to look them up. And you can experience the loveliness of ED4 of Dono He Dono called Strange Meat Pie, which makes a lot of sense if you've watched a show. I think that was the only show that year where I was not skipping the EDs, and in this case, partially because there were so many of them. I think they did. Did they do the OP for that one as well? I'm not 100% sure. Let me check. Because yes, they did the OP, and the OP is utterly banging. So, in fact, they did everything that they did. They did the OPs and the EDs too. So everything I mentioned, just look at all of the themes, and there you go. So anyway, great stuff, and I'm looking forward to more.
We're just kind of breezing through these, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna move on to my number three. This is another artist who technically has done other ending theme songs, but the odds are good that you probably know her best from her 12, count 'em, 12 different ending theme songs from a schlocky little horror series called High School of the Dead. And that'd be Mayon Kurosaki.
That's quite a lot of EDs.
Yeah, and what's really fun about this is that every one of the EDs is distinct. There's no, borrowing, and just making slight alterations from one song to a next. Each song is completely distinct. She basically released an album with this
Hmm.
um with this series, which I thought was pretty amazing. The series itself, from what I've seen of it, I've never sat down to watch every last episode, and I doubt I ever will. But the series itself, from what I've seen, is not great. But the theme songs are just bangers. And the ending theme songs in particular, I absolutely really loved. I'm not even sure how I came across them because, like I said, I didn't really watch the series. I just kind of stumbled across them one day, listened to the songs, and realized, hey, these are pretty damn good.
That's good. I experienced Maun for a different reason, because apparently did the ED for School Live, and it did not change audially. So these weren't different EDs; they were all. Well, I guess I forget if it changed in the middle musically. I think possibly slightly, but this was one of those where the opening and the endings to the show kept changing as the show progressed for plot specific reasons. So I was glued to watching them for clues about the show as I was watching the show. So it was it had definitely hooked me, not specifically for the music, but it was it was good on that front. But I was definitely always paying attention, so an interesting one to be hooked in with.
Let's go ahead. Let's move right along. What is your number? What are we up to? Four now?
No,
Oh, wait,
my
sorry.
third choice because you
I'm sorry.
started for a
Yep, I'm
change.
sorry.
Woohoo! Okay. So this one again, a very modern group. What is it? 2015. I experienced uh, anything from them first. Most people experience them from Overlord, but I was one of three people, I think, to watch a show called Bubuki Buranki as it was airing, and the ending was kind of weird for the rest of it, but it had a very unique electronica kind of sound to it. But it would be the next year that it would really sit in there. I think they're driven a lot by openings as well, but the reason I'm specifically mentioning Myth and Roid here is due to literally the way that ReZero operated with both openings and endings what just fascinated me because they didn't always use them. They mixed them around. Myth and Roid with ReZero in this case also had a couple one-offs for particular episodes right at the height of certain plot points. Uh, but when Styx Helix would get used at certain ones, and when they would fluctuate with the ending theme just sung by Amelia, or when they wouldn't use anything, they would come up with a like a unique one-off, or some of the ones that people really remember was just the background music in episode 15, or the song used by what is it, Rem at the end of 18. This show was just a tour de force in how to ED, and both in the opening and in the ED in this case, I think the the specific tonal quality of Myth and Roid, which really didn't change much when you go from show to show. They've done a bunch of other stuff. The Boogie Pop Phantom OPs, I mentioned Overlord before. The Tanya OP, Saga of Tanya the Evil is great. So I have an appreciation of them also through a whole bunch of their OP stuff, but specifically because I didn't get to mention them in our OP one, and just how strong the one show was in its use of doing things with EDs specifically. I think that's why I have them on my list. Was honestly to talk about ReZero in that regard. Uh, Sadly, season two didn't do the same sort of thing. They were still good at when they used it or not, but they didn't have quite the same effect that they did in season one. But when I'm able to rewatch the series, introducing other people to it, it's still one of the best things. Is the way to end it. And since that was one of the ones that I've most enjoyed, the whole week to week watching, and all of us just trying to do guesswork and peeling apart scenes and rewatching episodes, it really sticks in you. And I didn't know their band name. Apparently, it says Myth and Roid with the and symbol in the middle of it, but literally it's supposed to be representing myth as in the past and android representing the future, and they stylized it in all caps. And instead of making it Android, they did Android. So it's
That's
weirdly cute.
actually interesting. I did not know that. My last two choices, I'll admit, are a little bit on the weak side. They don't. They're standing out. They qualify for the list because they have done multiple EDs. They've done enough of them, but honestly, they've only done like maybe two or one or two maybe that are actually strong. Uh, so that's, my little qualifier before I go into my next one.
Okay.
Uh, you may know my next choice from her EDs from Strike to Blood or To Love Through Darkness. I personally know her best from her theme songs from Vampire Night, and that'd be Kanon Wakashima. Kanon Wakashima, I've seen her in concert a couple of times now, actually. I saw her at SakuraCon and I saw her at AM Squared, rest in peace. Um, and she actually puts on a really good show. You wouldn't expect it from a rock and roll cello player, but she puts on a really good show. She has great vocals. She has great stage presence. If you ever get a chance to check her out, I really encourage you to check out one of her live shows. She's really interesting to watch on stage. But yeah, I mean, like I said, her theme songs from Vampire Night and Vampire Night Guilty are probably some of her strongest tracks. That'd be Still Doll and Suna no Oshido. She has a really soft voice, but it's haunting is what I was trying to go for there. And her presence seems really minuscule at first, but then she just starts playing and she starts singing and she just blows you away. So yeah, so definitely if you ever get a chance to check her out live at a convention or whatever, I definitely recommend you check them out. You check her out, excuse me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I had to real quickly because I remember there was a Tudabaru thing ED that I really liked when we were doing our anime music quiz stuff. Uh, but I didn't watch the Darkness anime, so that one wasn't on rotation. So I think looking at the list of them, I think the thing of hers I'm most familiar with is Selector Infected Witcross, the opening,
Uh huh.
which is uh, which is good stuff. I'll have to find an album. You have to send me all of your albums. We have to cheat the system. That's that's how all of this stuff goes. I'm not familiar enough.
If you set up an FTP, then we'll figure it out. Because
Okay.
I'm not going through my entire
F-
collection and sending them piece by piece.
FTP. What age are we in? All right. And while I'm not as familiar with her or most of your selections so far, and it feels like you either haven't been familiar with or they're not in your wheelhouse necessarily with mine. I will make you happy because there was one particular group that I don't remember if we mentioned it explicitly. I thought we were going to duplicate on in the way that we did Maya Sakamoto last time. Uh, I had forgotten they had an explicit Yuki Kajiura connection, but what I'm gonna do here is mention Calafina, and in fact,
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go to town because I know why I bring him up. But frankly, you sounded very crestfallen that it was not someone you could talk about explicitly. So let's share the love. I mean, there's one of them obviously that is, really the I feel like the height of representing Calafina-ness, but maybe it's on strength of Madoka Magica
Uh huh.
in Magia specifically, but going through all of their stuff, and they have some good OPs as well, but they have a whole lot more EDs because apparently they were in fact founded specifically for the Kara no Kyokai movies. And again, I
Mm.
normally wouldn't count credits music, but in this case, obviously that's at the end of a list of other stuff like Unlimited Blade Works, which was great, and Fate Zero, second season. And for me, actually, I watched Arslan Senki while it was airing, and their EDs were great in that as well. Uh, Now, what ones do you enjoy the most? And I'm wondering whether or not any specific. There are two specific ones that come to mind, but I'm not entirely sure if one of them will due to your mental hatred.
Well, I mean, Magia definitely from Madoka Magica. That's like peak Calafina right there.
Right.
Uh, they Yuki Kaijura is so good at composing haunting vocal tracks. That I remember when I attended her press conference at Anime Expo, I thought it was hilarious that someone asked her, if her gothic sounding songs was an intentional thing. And everyone in the room was kind of waiting for her answer, and her answer was roughly that she didn't know that she had a gothic sound. She just composes what she likes.
Okay, sure.
Which I thought was hilarious. I thought that was just a great answer. But yeah, I mean, Magia is definitely right up there. I think probably my favorite Calafina ending theme songs, however, would be from the first season of Black Butler,
There we go.
Lacrimosa. That is such a good song that I enjoy very much. I also enjoyed their theme songs from Unlimited Blade Works. I thought that those were really powerful songs to end out, to close out episodes on.
Definitely good and strong. I know a lot of people swear largely by the OPs from them. Those hit a lot of favorite stuff. I'm a little
Uh huh.
surprised that the EDs don't hit higher and hotter. I see you did not mention the one from Black Butler season 2 though. So is
Yeah,
has
I
that
kind of.
gotten caught in the unfortunate unfortunately it is associated with Black Butler season 2, so you cannot acknowledge
Yeah,
its existence.
yeah, it's kind of sad that, Calafina had the chance to perform for Black Butler again, but then the second season got canceled and never happened.
Right. Have you watched the Kara no Kyokais?
No, I haven't, not yet.
It is definitely good stuff, and yes, certainly their sound is immensely fitting for that in general. It is very sad that they are no longer an act, that they only were working together until 2019. One hopes that at some point they'll come together. I'm not sure why they disbanded, but
As
it
far as
does
I
make me sad.
recall, it was because Yuki Kaijura left her agency, which left them kind of high and dry, and so they disbanded.
Couldn't they just rejoin Fiction Junction or something like that? Or was
I
that the
don't know the details beyond
uh,
that.
what you don't have every single detail of all Kajiura news
uh,
etched upon your soul?
I think that means that we're down to our last picks. So
Yes,
for my last one, once again, you probably know her from her Sword Art Online Alicization theme songs. I personally know her best from her Fate Zero theme song, and that'd be Eir Aoi. Excuse me. I
right.
totally mangled that, and I apologize profusely to everyone for for forcing you to listen to me mangle that. But anyways, um, but yeah, her theme song from Fate Zero was the first time that I heard her voice, and to this day, I can still just at the mention of that song remember those opening notes, and that first vocal solo that opens the song before the instruments kick in. I think that that was probably peak Air Eye. Excuse me again. I don't know why I can't do this, but we'll just go with it. Anyways, I believe I saw her in concert as well at SoccerCon, but I don't remember for certain if I did or not. I know for certain that I attended her press panel, which was fun. But yeah, I don't remember if I attended her concert or not.
Obviously, there would have been, some SAO stuff. So I guess I would have gotten SAO OP2 before. Like, Lisa obviously feels much more the embodiment of sword art
Yeah, yeah.
than she does, but that's fine. So I think the first time that I was really blown out by one of the OPs was Kill a Kill,
Hmm.
because she does the first one, and it certainly goes places. And then again, I mentioned Arslan Senki before, and she did an ending and an opening for that, so that was good. I'll give a weird little shout out to someone who Air Air oh, no, Eir Aoi. Now you've made me
Thank
self
you.
conscious. Certainly, there's a whole lot of vowels that you're trying to navigate in the middle of that overall. For so few letters, there's only 6 total letters. But oh man, she has distinction for him in that she is by far his most hated artist. I could never get a specific reason. I couldn't figure out if it was just, specifically sword art or hatred, or if it was just the particular, vocal quality. I couldn't, you know, detect anything that was ultimately bad about it. Certainly, I've enjoyed openings and endings from her. So, but the reason that I mentioned this and mentioned this weird little shout out will also have something to do with my last pick, which I guess we'll go on to, which is technically a single song override.
Okay.
I looked her up and I found out that she also did the ending for Gantz, which is fine. And she did a Guyver TV series ending, and it was kind of okay. They weren't great, but by far, I mentioned before that I couldn't use my number 2 ED, and I can definitely rank those. Well, this is my number 1 ED of all time. Uh, I was what is it? The first and only time I was involved in one of those YouTube mass rank things. They were doing 90s EDs. They couldn't even get a full group going. They usually try to get 8 people, and could only throw together 5. Took a year to come out, but I felt vindicated in the end because this song took number 1. Uh, I feel like it has so many things playing against it too. The artist, her name is Bonnie Pink. She's older than me, so her career has stretched from the mid 90s. The one thing that everyone knows her from is basically the ED that plays during Kenshin's Kyoto arc, called
Okay.
It's Gonna Rain. So this is by far my favorite ED. It has a number of things working against it from my perspective. Uh, I love jazz, and it's my favorite of the jazz openings and endings. Yay, even over the seatbelts and Yoko Kano doing Tank. Uh, but I normally do not like vocals in my jazz instrumental stuff, but it just friggin' works here. It's Gonna Rain is such a glorious, what, 2 minutes 10 seconds. It's one of the few ones that you're getting an extended ED for, I guess, so they didn't have to replay as much and they didn't have to do as many repeated scenes as your typical Dragon Ball episode. Uh, but because it's attached to a shonen, admittedly one of the ones that I'm okay enough with. Technically, it's attached to the best shonen arc, which does help it, but it's a jazz with vocals, which is a little weird. And of course, after you stop hearing it anymore, is when they canceled Kenshin. Sadly, season 3 also didn't happen there. So I don't know what it is about this song, but I cannot get enough of it. It is simply glory personified. So I just threw Bonnie Pink on. I haven't listened to much of her other stuff. I probably should, but I'm doing it simply to give a shout out specifically to It's Gonna Rain. So for anyone who doesn't know it, you should familiarize yourself with it. I know for a lot of people it's pretty meaningful, even for people that I don't normally align with too much on stuff. There are a bunch of Kenshin OPs and stuff that people really love that I think are kind of crap. Same with some of the EDs, but this is literally the best. So that's where it goes. It's just so cool and funky and jazzy and amazing, and her voice just works especially great for this. Less great for the Gantz one, but primo for It's Gonna Rain. So
See,
yeah.
I gotta say that I know Bonnie Pink from her Gantz ending, and I really like that song.
I mean, she does sing good ED. I hadn't heard it before, so it hasn't sunk in, and I'm like, it's fine, but I'm comparing it to my favorite ED of all time, so
Yeah, yeah, I can understand
it's hard to
that.
measure up.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Last Kiss from Gantz. The opening and ending theme songs are the only good things about Gantz. The
you,
the opening and ending theme songs are both bangers. The series itself is such crap, but yeah, the opening and ending theme songs to that series were bangers, and Bonnie Pink I thought did a really good job with Last Kiss.
have you experienced It's Gonna Rain or not? Since maybe you watched Kenshin way back in the day, or did
I
you?
don't recall. I don't think I have though.
Hmm. Well, gotta fix it. Everybody's
I
gotta
will
fix
look.
it.
I will look that up once we're done.
Now, is this something? I know with our OP we had the follow up where we were talking about them a little more and actually playing them. Is that something that we might throw in for the EDs at some point down the line in the future as well? As pick certain of the songs and test more music interstitials, or
Yeah, we could definitely try that in the future. The opening theme song, when we tried that, wasn't great, but we can try that with the ending theme songs and see if the previous practice helps us out a bit.
sounds good. So everyone can look forward to that.
So, all right, let's go ahead. Let's wrap things up on this point. Kind of a short podcast this time, but that's all right. Thank you, CT, for joining me again for another fun discussion. We don't get to do this nearly often enough.
Every day we should do a daily podcast. No? Okay. Daily might be pushed.
uh, And thank you to all of you for listening to us. Please make sure to remember that these podcasts go live on our Patreon first. That's patreon.com/otaku review. They go live there for a week before hitting general podcast providers. No matter where you're listening to this, though, please make sure you give us a little rating, a little review, maybe a like or a subscription. That would really help us out. Make sure you share our podcast if you enjoyed listening to us. We'll be back very soon. We have other ideas for other podcasts that we want to do, including one that we've been trying to do since January, but just have never gotten around to it quite yet. But we will eventually.
It'll happen.
Uh, but until next time, have a great night, everybody.
Good night, folks.